Complete Persepolis is a unique coming-of-age story that is not often experienced in Western culture. The life of a girl who is living through war-torn Iran is presented in a way that is very geared towards Western readers in the medium of comics. Through applying the lens of a Bildungsroman, Marjane Satrapi's story can be dissected into a coming-of-age story that can be deeply meaningful to Western female readers. All Bildungsromans start with a protagonist that is immature and not ready to face the world. This is where we find our protagonist. Even though she is in the very real world of the Iranian Revolution, she is very protected from it. She is barred from participation by her parents and shielded from the realities of suppression, persecution, and execution. Through her own will to explore the world, she slowly learns about these realities. These realities hit her one after another. Satrapi is able to tie these lessons to growing up processes in her own way, things that Western children experience, such as going to school, learning about sex, and becoming independent, are presented in the panels of the story. While these lessons were taught to Satrapi in the harsh environment of the revolution, she was able to relate them to comprehensible coming-of-age situations for us Westerners. It can't be mistaken that Satrapi for her whole life has been very Westernized. She went to a French school when she was young. In addition, while not strictly Western, she was influenced by progressive and communistic ideas from her parents and father's friends. Even though Western culture conflicts with communism, these ideals stand heavily against the ideas brought in by the theocratic government created after the Iranian Revolution. Nor was she changed significantly in attitude towards the traditionalist or theocratic mindset during or after the revolution. An article published in the International Journal of Sexual Health titled Iranian College Students' Attitudes Toward Premarital Sex, Marriage, and Family Before and After the Islamic Revolution showed no significant change toward theocratic views in these areas after the revolution. While Satrapi did not make it to the level of college education by the time she was sent to Austria, there is proof that her originally progressive French school shielded her from the fundamentalist ideas of the Iranian Revolution. People in education did not have their beliefs changed by the new theocratic government. Their resolve stayed strong. This puts Satrapi in a unique situation. Her coming of age is definitely not of any typical kind a Westerner would experience. Satrapi experienced repression by members of her own religious belief, using her own religion at a government level. This all happens in a war-torn country unlike what we see in the Western world. This helps Satrapi act like a bridge so a Westerner can understand what growing up in a war-torn, theocratic Middle Eastern country would look like. She is able to connect Western progressive imagery and feelings to typical Bildungsroman moments. One of these moments is seen when Satrapi, caught wearing the jean jacket and Michael Jackson button. This is a very typical rebellious and independent moment that a kid, even in the Western world, she is rebelling against her parents because she wants to feel independent. However, at the same time, she has potential legal consequences she has to deal with in the moment. There are many Western examples of Bildungsromans that center around a child disobeying his or her parents. One famous example of this is J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. The book is about a coming-of-age story as the protagonist runs away from his parents in New York City. In this story, the protagonist does not run into the same perils from disobeying his parents as Satrapi does. However, major consequences are still present. Even though individual similarities can be found in between Satrapi's and Western culture Bildungsromans, it cannot be ignored that the comic book style is heavily reliant on Western culture. The comic book medium has a great effect of helping a Western reader perceive the story. As explained in Estranging the Familiar, East and West in Satrapi's Persepolis, published in English Studies in Canada, unique combination of comics and Eastern culture produces a text that regularly juxtaposes the familiar and the alien. At the moment that the text promises the comfort of stable meaning, it affects the slippage that subverts explanations and undermines its promises. Slippage refers to how often the book blends with Western culture even though it is in a very Eastern environment. In scenes where Satrapi is sitting at home, the outside world rarely invades. Even in this scene, when talking about the horrors of the fundamentalist Islamic regime, even directly after the house across the street was completely destroyed by a rocket. Yet Satrapi is sitting in her living room, seemingly undamaged, even relaxing on a nice-looking couch. The conversation is about a difficult topic. However, this scene could as well take place in a Western living room with a daughter just learning about the horrors in Iran. This connection that this comic bridges between cultures is widely recognized. The feminist teacher reports that it is used at Bates College and University of Maine at Augusta as a launching point into discussing nation, citizenship, gender, and war in Iran. Persepolis causes Westerners to question their current beliefs about the Middle East and the people who live there. The teachings at Bates and Maine are just representative of slippage in action working on readers' perceptions. Students begin to see Iranians not much unlike us, maybe even begin to draw parallels between Iran and American history, such as how Iranians are persecuted and how American colonies were treated before the American Revolution by their own people, the British. The questioning about one's own history completes the duality of the lessons that Satrapy is presenting in Persepolis. She wants us to question our own thoughts about Iran. This is plainly stated in the intro, but she also wants us to consider our own coming-of-age story of both ourselves and our country and compare that to Iran and how Satrapy's story was molded by the Iranian environment. In conclusion, Satrapy has presented an Iranian Bildungsroman that goes beyond other Persian literature and hopes to fully connect with the target audience of Western readers. She does this successfully through using her Western knowledge and characteristics to create a story that a Western reader can fully interact with and understand. She does this through use of the comic medium and her own story, which has many Western aspects that readers can relate with. These two in combination help the reader understand Iran more and experience a tradition Bildungsroman to learn from.